Hello everyone, my name is John Myers, and I'm going to talk about my favorite technology, 3D printing. Now, Darth Vader here isn't actually 3D printed, but he does a great job of representing how 3D printing works. Vader is created by stacking layers of cardboard on each other, layer by layer, until you have a three-dimensional object. The idea behind 3D printing is you do the same thing. Use various technologies to draw a shape layer by layer until you have a three-dimensional object. There are three main types of 3D printing technologies. The first is a filament 3D printer. Next, you have a resin-based 3D printer, which uses a liquid resin that gets cured and hardened using either a laser, LCD screen, or a projector. And finally is a powder printer, which has a powder bed that uses a laser to fuse that powder together layer by layer, or it glues it together using a binder. Now, filament and resin printers are common at home and really inexpensive. Powder-based printers are mainly used in industrial settings because they're so expensive. In this presentation, we're going to focus on filament-based 3D printers, and a hot glue gun is a great way to understand how they work. Now, with a hot glue gun, you have your stick of glue, which gets fed into a heated nozzle, and if you're to draw layer by layer a shape and allow it to cool in between the layers, you have a 3D printer. This is the extruder to a 3D printer, and what it does is pushes that filament down into a heated nozzle at the bottom called the hot end, using a stepper motor on the left and a hobbed gear in the center to bite onto that filament and push it down through. This then is the heated nozzle and hot end that heats the plastic up enough to where it becomes a liquid. Then you have a series of other stepper motors that allow this nozzle to move and draw the object layer by layer until you have your full three-dimensional object. Now, one huge advantage of 3D printing is it allows you to create custom physical objects very quickly and easily. Another huge advantage of 3D printing is you can produce functional prints and do rapid prototyping. Here are some examples that I've done. Because of the nature of 3D printing, normally you can only print in one color at a time. But there are ways to get around it besides having a fancy 3D printer with multiple nozzles. The first is simply print your design in multiple pieces and assemble them together like these. Another way to get past the limitation of only one nozzle is to simply change the filament mid-print. So at a specific layer, you tell the printer to pause, you manually change the filament to another color, and then allow it to continue printing, and then you can print in multiple colors. Finally, and probably the easiest way to get multiple color prints is simply to print it out and then paint it afterward. Now, another limitation that comes up sometimes with 3D printing is the size of the printer itself. You might want to print something that's bigger than can fit on your print bed. So what you can do is what's demonstrated here is print that object in multiple parts, glue it together, and then maybe prime, sand, and paint it. That's what I did here to make this Black Panther helmet for a buddy of mine. Something else you can do, which is lots of fun, is combine circuits and electronics with their 3D print, like I did with this Christmas tree ornament by adding LEDs and a battery. This is another example of combining electronics with 3D printing. I 3D printed these lithophanes, and then I added this RGB LED strip into the center so that I could create this lithophane lamp for my family. The next advantage of 3D printing is the ability to have small batch manufacturing in your home. So you can create a home business by producing and selling various objects, either straight 3D prints or finished prints, or combined with other technologies. This is what my printers are currently doing. They are set up in my small batch manufacturing in my home to produce personal protective equipment for firefighters, police officers, and healthcare workers all over the state of Utah. What got me started on this is a few months ago, Provo Police put out a request to makers in the area to produce these 3D printed masks. They allow you to take a standard mask, cut it into 6 pieces, and attach it into that frame. And then one mask all of a sudden becomes 6, and your personal protective equipment goes a lot further. After I started producing these masks, I watched a YouTube video by Destin over at Smarter Every Day where he talks about how you can take your maker skills, work with other people, and make an even bigger impact on fighting COVID and producing PPE for those local to you. And so I joined up with others in the area, and we created a group called Salt Lake City Fighting COVID. Together we've produced hundreds of masks and thousands of face shields that we've donated to police officers, firefighters, and medical personnel all over the state of Utah. And we continue to do so even today. My printers are currently running with more masks right now. It has been a wonderful opportunity to use a technology that I love, 3D printing, to help fight COVID-19.